thank everybody for taking their time to be here.
Nice to meet you all. I'm Breeze Bristol. I've been with NORA Systems for over 5 years. I've been installing NORA for over 30 years. And I'm based out of Greensboro, North Carolina. I have the entire East Coast, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. I speak Spanish, so they stick me with those areas as well. I'm also a trainer for NORA. I do the academy, and I also do the CGMP Academy, which is Current Good Manufacturing Practices Installations, which is a whole different animal in itself. If y'all get involved in any of those, I'll do an academy here for that. But we're here to talk about NTX. NTX is not rocket science. We've had this for about 15 years in development. NORA used to be owned by Freudenberg Building Systems. At that time in Germany, they were tasked to go ahead and find an adhesive that's going to work on the outside of rail cars and airplanes. That adhesive we came up with is this is a remodification of that. So the adhesive itself is bulletproof when installed right. Your biggest challenge, like anything, is preparation. So Fishman's, they have an MRF now. Ardex does. It's a moisture-resistant feather finish. You need to contact them to see if they're going to allow that under this product. The K60 they use is they say you can skim coat it. I've never been able to successfully skim coat it. It's too grainy, down to a 0. But you're going to have to get with your patch manufacturers of your choice to find a patch that's going to go up to 100% RH.
Yeah, pretty much everybody's got it. Shownox has got it. Ardex has it. MyPay has it. Everybody's
Shownox has the SL, the AP, and the US.
Yeah.
AP and US are their leveling, and then you've got a skim coat with the SL,
right.
Slimline, what they call that. And then Ardex says the K60 MRF. We don't manufacture these. Our MAPE's got an Extreme too. We don't manufacture these, so you got to call them. Because we change our installation guideline too during the year. If something's not working right, they may decide that this patch isn't for underneath the system. So each time call them, because you need to get out of jail free card if it doesn't work. Okay, but the biggest thing there is, remember, ASTM F710 is your Bible for floor preparation. Okay, if you use a moisture mitigation system, you're switching over to ASTM F3010 for us. All right, what is that? A 2-part resin system, your traditional moisture mitigation that you're going to use. For this system, you don't have to use that anymore. The nice thing about it is that it can go up to 100% RH and not be bond. You got to remember, this is not a mitigation system. It's just not affected by high moisture. Does that make sense? The mitigation system's using epoxy to suppress it. It can't get through that level, so therefore it doesn't attack the adhesive and debond. It's called, remulsification of the glue. This, the adhesive, the moisture can go up to it, but it's not going to go ahead and debond the adhesive. Because remember, this was a modification for rail cars and airplanes, jump up minus 60 degrees, real quick in all types of weather. So as long as your preparation's good here and you've got a good bond from the adhesive side. So we have what we call a bond enhancer. We don't call it a primer because then you're all going to be slapping it down, right? Because like you're trying to prime Gypcrete, got to get into it within 24 hours and you got to reprime it because it's going to soak in. This isn't that. This is just a bond enhancer. It's designed to knock the dust down and stop any types of salt and minerals that are coming up through with the moisture. That's all it's designed to do. So it's a light skim coat. Basically, when you put this down, all you want to do is just change the color of concrete, to make it look like a moist concrete, when it's dark. And that's it. If you have any type of orange peeling or lemon peeling, depending upon where you're from, okay? Fish iron, the overlaps, they're all bad. The reason why is because of foam. And then this needs a nice level surface too. So you want ridge-free smooth concrete to go to, but you don't want to change the surface profile by putting this down. It's a 1-part urethane. It's kind of like a silane. It will dry under anything situation. You could cover it up, but you don't want to do it wet because you're going to compromise the glue, but it will dry. And when it dries, you're done. You're going to ruin whatever it touches. So it's going to be real important to get rid of it. Anywhere you don't want this, remove it. So the adhesive itself, it's just like the materials that you're used to dealing with, except it's got the glue already on the back of it. So, does anyone have a hook blade on them? That's all right.
Who has? Are you doing hats?
This is a foil, all it is plastic protector. As soon as I do this, I've compromised the glue, okay? We don't want to go ahead and touch this as much as possible because it's just like a piece of masking tape. You get yourself dirt on your finger, you put it on the masking tape, it won't stick anymore. So the back of the foil is not hard to remove, but you want to rip it like a Band-Aid, okay? If you go too slow with it or try to cut it, thank you, brother, too slow. You're going to have issues with it. And I won't recommend removing the foil all at one time because you're going to have to touch the back of it now somewhere to actually place the material. So what I'll do here, for the sake of time, is we're going to go ahead and kind of show you how to work with these materials here. Since we don't have about 60 to 80 minutes for that to dry, in this environment it will never dry, let's go ahead and worry about how we're going to place these, work with the materials. And then afterwards we'll roll it on here. It won't dry in time, so we'll just do that so you can see how much to put down. But you got your chalk line. All right, you find your center line, right, on the floor itself. You don't want to chalk underneath the material because then all of a sudden you've got a small area that's going to break underneath the material itself for it. If you chalk line on the top of it, all right, I always like to go ahead and create finger marks throughout. All right, so that way you can still line it up some, and then right before you put that down, you want to wipe it off. If you don't, that's going to compromise this. All that is just chalk. On the back of here, it's not going to have a good bond. And if you're using your chalk line, what do you put there? Your seam? That's your weakest point anyway, so you don't want to have your seams micro peeking, all right, at that joint. You're not using cold weld, all right, or heat weld. You can't use heat weld on this material itself, the hammered finish, because when you use your skiving knife, we use a Mozart, but whatever you use for it, you're going to tip shear this product, so it'll damage it. So you only cold weld this. You're not going to have cold weld to help you out from the micro peeking. You may have to then go back and cold weld the entire job because you want it to look right. Now for synergy to repair that. So with this particular material, y'all go ahead and line this up. We recommend to loose lay the whole room out, cut it in, all right? And then you're gonna peel and start placing it. We use a 3-4-5 method when we're using wet glue, but for this way, you're gonna lay the whole room out, so then that way, you're not running off center for it. I use the old traditional way to take a corner here, I make an arc, take a corner here, I make an arc, take a corner there, make an arc, take a corner here, make an arc, and then a chalk on it. So that's true center from the actual corners. But we all know walls aren't straight. So I like to lay it out, loose lay it out first. That way you can manipulate it because this isn't like wet glue. Once you set it, you're done. And if you rip this material up, you're gonna rip that and maybe some of your patch up. You shouldn't if you mixed your patch right and it's dry and you've got the right compression strength. It's a minimum of 3,000 PSI when tested in accordance with ASTM C109, C109N. The problem with the modified patches that you have, feather finishes, all right, Pliny preps, they don't have any aggregate into it because it's a modified patch. What they use is a gypsum base. They don't use Portland base in it. So therefore, it can't be measured on a lift. It's fine on a skim coat, but what do you want to do with feather? You want to ramp it? You want to do everything for it because it's like milk. It's easy to use. So I understand why everyone loves it. I love it too, but it's not in compliance with C109, C109M because they can't test it for that. It has no aggregate. So you all, as the flooring manufacturer, contact them. They'll say it's okay to use it, no problem. That way you get out of jail free because then you're not really in compliance with the installation requirements anymore. So if you want to use that, I don't have any problem with it. I just recommend that you contact them, that they're going to go ahead and allow a variance to, even though it doesn't meet it per ASTM F710, and that's the concrete floor preparation for all resilient, VCT. There's no different prepping for VCT or our material. The difference is most people don't prep the right way for VCT. So you want to make sure, and I get it. You get paid 25, 35, 45 cents, a foot. You just want to blow and go, on that. But this material's a little bit different. I know you're doing a school on this, but generally when you use this particular material in itself, it's acting as a vapor retarder over the entire floor. So if there's any moisture in it, when you put this on, it's like putting yourself a piece of plastic over the entire floor. It's gonna blow up to the top. It doesn't breathe, it has zero permeance. So basically, an effective vapor retarder has a permeance of about 0.01. What does that mean? Basically, not moisture is going through it. And so this does that as well. So when we're dealing with the materials, all we want to know is we've got the right floor patch, right? You got a good bond to the surface of the substrate, because generally when I'm dealing with the floor patch, they want you to mechanically remove all contaminants from the surface of the substrate, all glues, all types of drywall dope, the mud, guys mud in the wall and gets all over the place, paint overspray. Any of that stuff, it may initially bond, but the only bond you're gonna have is the strength of that material that's on the surface. So you could have problems. When you have NORA in places, generally it's really high use, so they're gonna see a failure quicker than VCT, because foot traffic isn't hard for us. Forklift traffic is what goes on this stuff. Literally, you can drive vehicles on this and you're fine. Okay, so, and that's no different floor preparation than VCT. So there isn't any special thing for NORA. It's just a matter of people aren't prepping right for VCT. And I'm not indicting anyone out there, but that's pretty much what's happening. So, did I get 2 people? Help me out here. You really just need to get started. Go ahead and pretend, go ahead and do a mock chalk line. Just pretend there's X's or something like that, a chalk line. Remember the back used to have arrows, so you just want to make sure that it's all going the same direction. Environmental conditions for NORA is this. This would not pass, to put it down in here. But you want a stabilized environment. The minimum substrate temperature is 63 degrees, okay? Temperature needs to be between 63 and 75 degrees within the building, stabilized, all right? And the humidity needs between 40 and 60%. What that's gonna do, all that basically says, if you've got a temporary situation, you also have to be 5 degrees above the dew point. Because if you're not, at that point, you've got condensing. What is that? Water on the surface of the substrate, whether you see it or not. That's gonna affect the bond. So, with that being said, let's move forward. Let's say the whole area is, go ahead and put out the entire area itself like you're doing it there. However you do it, there, because if you got 2 or 3 different crews, some guys like doing it towards the door, some guys like going north, some guys like doing it towards the windows or something. I just like to put painter's tape on a wall, like that as well, or on your plans. Like if you got plans north or whatever, put it up there, then that way, if you got a different crew coming, working the next day, everyone kind of knows where they're working, in that direction. Now this material, as you put it out, you've worked with this material before, so sometimes it'll be a discoloration to it. It's called ambering or yellowing in the material. Natural light or artificial light, we'll go ahead, everything will work out. As long as it's the same batch number, don't worry about it. You can call me and I'll make reference to it and I'll tell you the same thing as well. As long as it's the same batch, which you all know is die lots, we call them batch for some reason, you're good to go. That'll all even out. So, put your arrows this way.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're down here. The nice thing about someone had put there's I like glue. I don't like this stuff. You know what I mean? It's new. I get it. No one likes to learn anything new, but it's really simple. The problems with glue is this. All right, you spread glue. You're waiting for the environment to get body, right? You got to get the right consistency before you lay it in. Then you lay it in, and you move on to the next one. The problem with that too is displacement of glue. What's that? Someone comes in, ceiling tile comes in with his ladder, all right, walks all over the floor. You know it is a VCT sliding off there. What it does under here, it doesn't move, but it can displace the adhesive. I'm not talking about this, but I'm talking about glue, right? So you got about 24 hours before it really gets a nice bite to it. And then 72, you don't want any construction traffic. They move the big gang boxes in there, and all of a sudden you see this traffic down through the floor. You're like, what the crap, from that. And you pull it up and you see the track marks, right through the glue itself. So you got displacement of glue. The nice thing about this is you place it and you're done. There's none of those bad things. So one mobilization that saves you, it's going to be a whole lot less time for you to learn the curve and cost you less money that way. So initially, you're going to work with it. After one room, all right, you're gonna get your rhythm, all right? You're gonna get your rhythm. Spreading the glue, that's what this is. Same thing here is rolling nice, takes quick. I can do it really quick. It's not hard. You'll see you can do this whole area in about 3 minutes and probably about this much in the tray. It doesn't take much to put that down. So the common misconceptions too about the difference between this and glue is that, you know, well, yeah, well, I can get into the glue, I can clean it, you know, I can do all this for it. But if you're gonna go ahead and prep your floor, right, and you put this down, you're gonna see the debris as you're rolling through, and you can just pull it out and then just re-roll it through as you're doing that portion of it. So you don't have to have your trowel as your sweeper on the way out. For those of us that get a little lazy or they're pressed on the job site, I get it, the GC, this last job you do for me, get it done now, I'm not worried about that, you know, for that portion. So dealing with the materials here, the 48 hours of acclimation is really important in your case, and stabilized environments, because if you don't, it's going to shrink on you if it gets colder. It's going to grow on you. It's still resilient if it gets hotter. So you want a stabilized environment. You want it to stay in a stabilized environment. If they don't have the HVAC running, don't install. You know what I mean? Certain times of the year, you may get away with it, you may not, but you have to, right, warranty that to them. So if they got a problem, call me. I'll drive up here. It only take me, shoot, 2.5, 3 hours to get up here. You know what I mean? And I'll say, I was in the area. I want to stop by and go, whoa, hey, what's going on here? I'll be the bad guy. You know what I mean? You know, I understand, hey, look, man, this is gonna, trust me, I did what you did for over 30 years. It's not about getting the pay today. It's about what you have to pay tomorrow. It's going to take your breath away, you know, from that portions of it. So just make sure that the environmental conditions are right. I use this gauge here. This is an X-Tech gauge. It gives me surface temperature, gives me dew point, it gives me the air temperature, all right, and humidity. So in here it's 64% relative humidity, so it's too high, all right? The air temperature is 58, so it's way too low, okay? And the surface temperature is 66 on this wood. So in theory, the wood's the surface temperature is the only thing you have here. The dew point itself is at 59, so you're within 5 degrees of the dew point, so you have condensing happening here, whether you see it or not. That's really gonna affect your wet glues more than it is this one. However, if you try to use this adhesive over moisture, it's not gonna hurt the adhesive, it just won't bite. And until you remove it, there's nowhere for it to go, because now you've urethaned it, the moisture will not go down into the slab, and it's not gonna go through this because it has zero permeance. So it's real important not to have that, you know, there. So we prepped, we've rolled, everything's good to go. We wanna lay into this. Just a couple of things to consider when you're laying a floor.
Now, back up one section when you're talking about prep.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do to this slab? Are we just gonna run a buffer over it with our sandpaper, or do we have to put a Dyma brush on it, or what are we doing to this slab?
It's a great question.
As far as the prep that you're gonna require for this to bond?
You're gonna do whatever is needed to remove the contaminants from the surface of the substrate. So if you have to use a Dyma brush, 100 grit is what I would recommend, not the 25, because it doesn't change your CSP, so you don't have to skim all over the place. If you get away with the 30, 40 grit, you can do it. But that's up to you all. You have to mechanically remove all the contaminants from the surface of the substrate, or the surface of the concrete in this case. Okay, so.
Which is really no different than the
Anything else.
Yeah.
You're prepping for VCT the right way per ASTM F710, okay? That's what we're looking for here. The difference is we're using a patch instead of like feather finish you like to use, which you would now call and say, can we still use this under this product?
Yeah, but we're not talking about needing to skim coat the entire floor, are we?
That's a FF and an FL, floor flatness and a floor levelness. I don't know.
Okay, I'm just saying, we're not requiring that.
No.
The patch we're gonna use, the only, you know, let's just say it is a normal job. We're gonna go in and we're gonna buff the floor, and we're gonna patch the saw cuts, and we're gonna patch the knot holes where they shot the wrong places down, and get out this
exactly right.
Get out this little roll right here, and we're gonna proceed. We're not
Right.
required to get a surface, you know, CSP or whatever, and we're not required to skim coat the entire floor or any of that. It's just whatever we would have normally done to install with adhesive, we're gonna do the same thing.
I don't know what y'all normally do here, okay? But I'll tell you what's normal for ASTM F710, okay? There is, in your specifications, all right, you have, and it will say within ASTM F710, or in this particular case, you got a high moisture situation, so you're gonna default. We would normally say to 3010, but we're gonna take away the normal floor prep as far as the patches that you're gonna use, because now you have to use a floor patch up to 100%. Most of them go, what, to 99%? They just do that because they wanna get out of jail free card, okay? They've modified some of the same patches, and they say, okay, we'll go up to 100% now. And you pay a little bit more. It's basically the insurance if they fail or something like that, you know, for them. For the floor, smooth, you need to have a clean, flat, smooth, ridge-free concrete substrate.
Okay.
Whatever you need to do to get to that, because,
The same thing we would have normally done to install it with
well,
adhesive.
you got tape now, all right? You don't have glues going down in some of the undulations, all right, and they're imperfections. So what you all do here, again, I don't know what that is. You want it smooth, flat, because you want as much of the surface of this bonded to the surface of the substrate.
Yeah, we're all gonna do the same place.
Right, no, hey brother, that's fine. Yeah, and I'm just saying this because it's a loaded question, you know, after I work with y'all, I'm happy to come and do for free, work with you guys, just try to get out, you know what I mean, to get over the hump.
The hang up.
Right, and I'll see more then, but I can't respond to that until I know, you know what I mean? So if you all normally do that, great. What I hear is you do, okay? You've done enough of this floor successfully with our wet glues, you know, for it. But remember, wet glues have a lot of forgiveness if you're using acrylics, because you're using a 1/16 by 1/16 V-notch for 3mm and above, you know, and a 1/32 by 1/16 by 1/32 U-notch for our 2mm, you know, in the acrylic, you know, for the AC100. When I'm spreading the floor on that, it can deal with a lot of, you know, imperfections on the surface of that. So in this particular place, you just want it, you know, just nice and flat, because you want the tape to bud as much as possible. And if you have all these scar marks or high-low pitting, you know, not like major pitting, but, you know, like up and down looseness, like a sandpaper surface, you're not gonna have 100% of that. If you look under a microscope, you're gonna miss about probably at least 50% of the bond. So then you could have issues, you might not. You know, this is a school, it's not like you're dealing with forklift traffic all every day. You know, you're dealing with foot traffic. So what that formulation is, so basically what we wanna do is make sure it's smooth, flat, okay? Doesn't have to be level, that's up to you and them, because, you know, sometimes they pour high and they're just going straight down, you know that. But whatever is in your spec, we want a clean, smooth, ridge-free floor. So if you can get that, achieve that by 30 or 40 grit sandpaper, great. If you want to throw a dyno, you know, clutch plate for a dyno brush, great. You know, but that's it. So
That's pretty much been the norm of what we've been doing. Is
Exactly.
running diamond brush over.
exactly. But I can't comment on that because I haven't seen the floor prep. So when you say normally what we've been doing, I can't comment to that. I'm just telling you what's to look for. And of course, all you want to do is bond test. All we have to bond test isn't this, it's just that. Because we'll stick to our O2O. So you just want to roll out the O2O. All right, take a scrape away blade, don't heal it, but just take a scrape away blade and scrape it real well, you know. If it comes up anything less than a quarter, you're good to go, chips, you know, there, because it's gonna give. You know, you just don't want anything larger than about a quarter, because if you're doing that, you do have a bond issue. It's coming up larger, you know, than that. And a lot of times, concrete curing compounds, right? Everyone's gotta use them. They have to be removed. Even if it's self-dissipating, they state that. You're gonna have a residue left behind. That residue itself, it won't bond well. That's with our normal glues and stuff too. Simple to do that. When you clean your floor, dyno brush your sand, you can water droplet test it. If it absorbs in or starts to absorb in 5 minutes for us, we don't require it has to fully absorb in 1 minute. If it starts to absorb in 5 minutes, you know, just start the bleeding on the side of your actual water droplet, you're good to go. So, but really, floor prep's everything for that. And when you do that, so we'll go there. So let's say that this is our first sheet. What I like to do is take myself a hook blade, all right, and I'll just score through here, this portion. I'm old, I need my glasses. No, right here, thanks. Y'all are young, don't get old.
If you not paying attention, you said it.
I told you I didn't have my glasses on.
Wait a minute, I'll put
I
mine
saw
on.
you over there, I was trying to make you feel good. Yeah, right. Yeah, so what we're doing here is basically, we're gonna go ahead and get a start point on the back of this material here. It's a little bit colder, so you're gonna have a little bit difficulties today, but under normal circumstances, you saw how the other one, it comes up right away. So what I like to do is to hook it, and then that way you pull up a little bit of this portion, and you start and you rip it off. I don't wanna go ahead and put everything off. The reason why is because once you set this thing, you're done, okay? So let's say that we've got this portion. You need to touch the back of this, okay? Watch, oh, look what's happening here. You see all the black marks from my glove and everything that happens there? Just take yourself a little piece of this if you need to touch it. And then now you can go ahead and work with it. So you can then, get up close to whatever you're doing at that point. But what you do with the other portion of this foil to make it easy for you,
Why don't y'all make a set of gloves made out of this stuff?
go right ahead. We don't manufacture gloves, but you could retire early for doing something like that. Yeah, no, I get it, bro. The thing is that, these are just for cutting, so unfortunately, you don't have those. So what you want to do here with the foil, okay? This is really important before you set anything. If you set this down with your piece here and you glue it down, you're never going to get to the edge. So you're going to have foil at the back here. So what you want to do is and this is just cold. This comes up easy. I'll show you how easy it is. Like when I pulled the other one off there, this is just cold, that's all. This piece. But what we want to do here with the foil, all right, is we want to roll this under. So when we put this side down,
You got them gloves on.
yeah, anytime we're using knives, so we got to use the proper PPE, so you get used to it. Y'all do what you do, that's fine. I have to do it this way, So what we want to do here is just take this foil, slide it under. Now, let's say there, so you're going to be my guide there. So what are we going to do? We're just going to go ahead and put it in, normally what we would, right? All right, so let's say that this is our piece. Here, you want to grab it here? All right. Let's go ahead and just put it in, we'll just get lined up and just say it's like right there. All right, we'll slide it along here, and we'll just put it in. You want to take this out before you do it. All right, and all you're going to do here is roll it. Now when you roll it this side, you got this here already coming back, and then you roll it this way. You're already set. So all you need to do here is just, and you're done.
Line it out.
All right. So now, without rolling this, it's cold and everything else. Y'all come over here and pull up the edges a little bit, and see you got a nice bond to it. When you roll this in, it's kind of like pressure sensitive glue. I don't know if you use a 100 or 150 pound pre-suction roller, but when you roll it in, it's done. And about a week later, it's going to be threefold, for that. So you do the next one up here. What you want to do is just take your next piece over. I like to dry fit it.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay. Make it nice and tight. I'm going to knee up here. Now it doesn't move on me. We're going to score this and remove the plastic, fold it under. You do it. And I just, at first, when you're doing it, just try 6 inches. I won't go that far, because if you go any further, you're gonna have to pick it up further to manipulate it. Just do 6 inches for starters. After about a week of this, you may be ripping the whole thing off and laying it in, you're fine. You know, but for starters, this is gonna be successful. It's gonna be good until you get used to the material, you know, that way. Jeez, I'm already out of breath. Okay, score the back.
Yeah, I already did that.
What you can do is, here, the best thing, instead of ripping it up and away,
Right.
I like to just catch the corners of that. Sanford and Son. All right, see, here's your flash from this side, and then rip it down and away. And that's really where your helper on this side is. Nice thing is, on normal glue, you won't be on this side of it as well, but you can do whatever you want. Here it is. Rip it like a Band-Aid. There you go. Now you take this, rip it like a Band-Aid. There you go, perfect. All right, make sure you fold it under. Now there's 2 things to do here. If you're set, just don't go all the way down with it. Just kind of look close. I like to lift. There you go. If you're not like that, you can still lift it up and manipulate it.
And my corner's right.
Right. Just here. Just let her stay. You can still lift it up initially when you do it, but
You don't want to do it too often.
right. Each time you lose the bond. Exactly. Now you come on this side here. Just move on to the next one. Same thing. So the nice thing about this is you're establishing, 3, 4, 5. The guy, when you first started, could start here. You're doing the outline. You got another person, you can do 3 people at a time, going down depending upon your work site. So all you're doing here at this point is just lining it up. So this person will come here and tie it in this way. Right, so we'll pull it back and go this direction. You can go this way, or you can keep on chasing this guy up this side. Now this material will grow and compress in, so some of the lining you see here will go away as well.
How do the bubbles?
The bubbles, that's what you have a roller for. That's the weight, like a pressure sensitive glue. As soon as you put that down, it'll bite.
So it'll roll a bubble up.
Yeah, well, when you're pressing it down, did you notice I went from the center? So I'm gluing this piece here. Hold it here, I'm gluing the center.
There's one right there.
Yeah. Well, I think that's tape. Yep, that's tape. It's tape, it's not a bubble.
It's tape?
Yeah. And pull it off. So see here? It's not a bubble, it's actually tape on the back fold.
It's still a bubble with tape underneath though.
What's that?
You still got a bubble with that stuff underneath though.
Yeah, but a bubble has air. This doesn't have air, it's plastic. It's called debris. It's called debris on the underside, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
What I do is I take them, you get it right on your end, and that way I can stretch it over it and get there a little out of it.
All right, my corner's right.
See, so then I can change it.
Well, no more bubble.
What, you right? Walk it over to it.
How long does this have to acclimate?
That's what you charge.
48 hours.
I had to do that a lot with the other one because of the.
Yep.
All right, so you're saying you want the chalk line underneath of the panel, correct?
Right. It's best just to use a laser if you got it.
You're gonna have to prime the room and then walk on it. Walk across, because you've got a classroom that's 30 by 30.
Yeah.
So you're gonna prime the room, then you're gonna tiptoe across there to get
You
to
don't
the
have
other
to
side
tiptoe.
of your mark.
You don't have to, when this is dry, you don't have to tiptoe. You can leave it down 3 weeks. It's just a matter, you're gonna have to clean off the dust from the surface of it, right? If you contaminate it, so you can't chalk line beforehand, it's best just use a laser. You know what I mean? So if you have to take your shoes off,
Yeah,
just to
that's
set
what I'm
your
saying.
first
We're
couple,
gonna- we're
and then
gonna
put them
walk
on,
across the
right.
primer to put the line on top.
Exactly, it's best to use a laser if you got it, but you're not contaminating the floor. I get it though. Chalk lines, if you use chalk line, you just wanna wipe it away before you, because you're gonna line up, right? So you pull it back, just wipe it off and set it. Then at that point, you're committed because the tiles are symmetrical. You're not gonna be adjusting them. If you do, you're gonna create yourself a gappage issue on 4 sides, right?
Set it. You can put the mortar. And then set it. And then peel it back.
All right, let's get some other people here to dry with even in 24 hours or 72, because it can't go down because you've already got moisture down there. It can't go up because it doesn't have any permeance. So now, if the temperature rises, the material's going to grow because it's not big, or it could shrink because it's not big. So the biggest thing that you all need to do is make sure you have a controlled environment. And that's my job, to do a pre-construction meeting with you all and the general contractor to make sure they know it before you get there. Because what's the first thing they say? Why didn't you tell me this a month ago and had a chance to do something about it? So that's what we do. We tell them a month before and do that.
Would you say that the temperature and control temperature and humidity is more important with this product than a glue down product, or no?
No,
Okay.
but it's just as bit important, because if you've got yourself a urethane primed on the surface, moisture isn't going down anymore, right, into the concrete. And you peel this down and you stick it. It's not going to affect the bond, but you need to get rid of the moisture. How do you do that? You can take a towel to it and then go ahead and shot back up all the lint. I like to use a microfiber towel if you're doing it, so it doesn't put all that crap down. You just need to dry the surface of the substrate and then peel in places. Once it's bonded, it's not going to be a problem. But if you have moisture in between the layers, there's nowhere for it to go. So therefore it's going to be loose. And it will be also subject to grow and shrink, like you're talking about there. But our tiles are pretty precise. And when we do it, I can take one of these tiles back up now, and it will go ahead and flex out to the other materials. That's how I check it, right? For acclimation, I'll just rip one of these up, rip up your subfloor and everything else, you know, all of your prep. But what'll happen on the back of it, I can get the acclimation to prove my point, you know, for that. The biggest misconception of it, the floor undulates. We got gaps in the tile, it's not right? Couldn't be me. You know, I'm just installing it, you know, it's not my fault that the floor is not flat. It's not my fault that the air conditioner isn't running. That's not my job. Well, it is your job if you gotta pay for it, you know, on the back side of it, just to have that. So really, they're gonna have a temporary condition, and it's not y'all's fault. I just want y'all not to have to waste any money to come back. You know what I mean? I spent a ton of money going back, remobilizing, because I didn't have the right conditions to put stuff down. And when you got resilient materials, whether it's ours or somebody else's, all right, it's gonna undulate. And you don't have any type of easy repair unless you're welding. Because if you got gaps tiles, you know what I mean, you're gonna full groove it and then you're gonna weld it and it's done, right there. But here it's really important to make sure what? The environmental conditions are right. Your general contractor signed an AIA contract with the end user, all right, which is the architects, all right, the architect on file or on record, that they would provide you an environment that is successful for the installation of flooring, right? So if the environment's not right, just tell them it's not right. If they got a problem with that, call me. I'll come out there and tell them it's not right, and then I'll be the bad guy, and you'll say, look, we put it in, but they're the ones telling us not to. And then that way, you don't get this is the last job you do for me. Don't worry about selling that next job until you get this one I'll be the bad guy, I have no problems talking nicely to them, say, well, look, you know what, if you do it, you're off the reservation, you bought the floor, you know? So, it's not rocket science for this stuff, but you just need to know the science of when to put it down, when not to. And acclimation is the biggest challenge that we have, because acclimation never occurs if you don't have a stabilized environment. If your environment's doing like this, every night they turn off the HVAC. Blowers don't work because all they do is throw humidity into the air, right? You know what I mean, the gas blowers. So that's throwing it out of whack immediately. You're gonna get condensing happening there. And you spread your glue, and what happens? Never gets body and says, yeah, NORA's glue sucks. Well, no, the environment sucks. So that's the reason why us beforehand tells you what's gonna be successful. We'll help you all to do it right as well. Generally, it doesn't happen often, you know? And I'm sure you had some type of an issue, so what happened to you
No,
with
we
the
didn't
tile?
really have an acclimation issue, we just had different color sizes. Didn't we
Oh,
switch colors?
you mean from the actual materials? Yes. Now, if you get another color, we did have a problem with that one time. And actually, if you have that right away, call me.
If you didn't keep, making sure it was running on, you'd end up.
Yeah, we had a problem because
stepping
we're,
out at the corner of the room.
yeah, that was about a year and a half ago, that one. We had, we
That would've
actually,
been about when it came, yeah, 'cause
it
we
may have
had
been that.
We had that material in here for.
Yeah, we did have you're right, we did, and we're not perfect, but we'll make it right immediately. What we'll do is recut all the other tiles that did. And we've got a cutter up right outside of Salem, and that would be on us. We would actually send trucks down here, pick it up and get it right back to you. Because we can do about 40,000 feet a week. So we can get that. So as soon as you come across that kind of, great question. I thought you meant at the same batch.
Well,
No, it's different colors.
Different
Yeah,
colors
different
within there.
colors.
Yeah, we did have a problem because they were using different stamps when they were running through productions, and somebody got off on that. We did have a problem one time, but what we were doing was just taking them and recutting them down to the smaller size on that portion, and then we were throwing up a bunch of extra on the back end just because just on the outside chance y'all lost square footage, on that. So, but that's a great question. We're not perfect as a manufacturer. One thing though we do is make it right.
Excuse me.
Other manufacturers may walk from it. Yeah.
I just got a bunch of material in. You're talking about batches?
Mm-hmm.
Just look over my shoulder here.
Yeah.
I'm looking at several different batches. This is this row here. How would that work out per se?
That?
5,000.
So 6,000, right?
6,000 here.
Yeah.
Another 6,000. I think that one may be different.
See, that's blue, and that's a different color. Of course, it could be different batches.
Okay.
Okay.
But
So these two are the same color with the same batch. All right, this one is there.
but
Good
it's the
question.
same. But I'm just we've
So
got
the
several
blue's
different
gonna all
colors.
have this batch, right?
Should.
Should, unless they worked, unless for some reason we're trying to get materials to you and y'all accepted something different, but,
Okay, but
you know,
no.
but yes, you're right.
All right, I just wanted to,
That's
they got to
good
look
eye.
at.
Yeah, see, and he's just looking at the batch number, but this is blue and this one's the,
But I
the
could just go
light
down the line,
cream
that's why
color.
this was kind of.
Yeah, it's not gonna be the same batch that's shipped here.
Gotcha.
You want the same batch number or dialogues, as y'all know, as, in the actual same coloration.
You said you got a cutter where?
We've got one in New Hampshire
Okay.
that does all of our cutting for us. CR Technologies is what it's called.